The Senate now has before it for final consideration Senate Bill number 1185. The Secretary will read the bill.
In the Senate, Senate Bill 1185 by Finance Committee, an act relating to the appropriation to the Department of Health and Welfare for fiscal year 2022. Appropriating monies to the Department of Health and Welfare for
Madam President.
Senator Eigenbrod.
Thank you, Madam President. I ask unanimous consent that further reading of Senate Bill 1185 be dispensed with, and the journal show has been read the third time at length, section by section, and placed before the Senate for final consideration.
You've heard the unanimous consent request. Is there an objection? Hearing none, it is so ordered, and Senate Bill 1185 will, Senator Eigenbrod is recognized to open debate on the bill.
Thank you, Madam President. I wish to declare a Rule 39H potential conflict. My sister does work for the Department of Health and Welfare.
Senator Eigenbrod's declaration of Rule 39H will be duly noted in the journal.
Thank you again, Madam President. Good Senators, this is the fiscal year 2022 original appropriation bill for the Department of Health and Welfare for the Division of Medicaid. It appropriates a total of $3,733,364,400 and caps the number of authorized full-time equivalent positions at 213. Good Senators, this is the largest all-funds budget that will come before us this year and directly affects the health care of over 20% of Idaho's population. The budget includes Idaho's 4 Medicaid plans: the coordinated plan, the enhanced plan, the basic plan, and the expansion plan. The bill also includes 5 line items, all of which are intended to reduce costs and minimize fraud. First is for the electronic visit verification program, which is intended to reduce fraud by requiring providers to electronically check in when they reach the client's home, similar to tracking a package on Amazon. Second is for an independent audits of managed care providers to ensure adequate billing of services. Third is for an extension of an existing computer system to allow better patient access to their health data, including the data collected through electronic visit verification. Fourth, we provide adequate appropriation for our veterans home to bill Medicaid at 100% of the cost of services rendered, which will bring those facilities in line with other state-owned facilities. And finally, this bill removes ongoing funding that was appropriated in 2019 for the division to implement and manage various waivers related to Medicaid expansion. Those sideboards have not been approved, but the applications have been completed, so there is no current need of ongoing funding. The bill represents a 1.4% decrease in FTP, a 6.3% increase in general funds, and a 19.8% increase in all funds. Good Senators, this has been a challenging year to budget, particularly as it relates to health care. First, we are dealing with a pandemic and its effects on health care access. Second, we're entering year 2 of Medicaid expansion and stabilizing that population. And lastly, we're dealing with a significant error in projections by our actuary, Milliman, regarding the cost of Medicaid. I'm as disappointed as anyone in this projection miss. On a brighter note, as a state, we're fortunate to receive a favorable FMAP. This is the Fed's share of the Medicaid funding that will save the state upwards of $65 million in fiscal year 2022. Although this isn't a guarantee, we have built $30 million of this savings rather than the full 65 into this budget. Medicaid remains on an unsustainable financial footing, both state and federally. We all know this. It continues to be important that the department work collaboratively with our providers and other stakeholders, including this body, to develop and execute a successful cost containment strategy. This motion includes intent language about the need to continue our cost containment strategy and emphasizing transparency and integrity in our budgeting. Madam President, debate is open.
Is there further debate?
Madam President.
Senator Thane.
I'd like to rise and make a couple of points in opposition to this budget. This Medicaid program has a couple of structural flaws with it that we need to start addressing. And I don't believe the intent language is sufficient to address those structural flaws. it does not encourage the recipients of Medicaid to take ownership over their own health care. In fact, it's a top-down model where there's a lot of regulations on the providers, but there's really no accountability on those recipients. And until we have some encouragement on the recipients to make wise health care choices, this is going to continue to cost us more. So I believe this is a top-down model. It's not encouraging responsible behavior on the part of those receiving the benefits. And until we start taking some serious actions to how to address that problem, encourage people to go to primary care providers instead of the emergency room, we need to vote no on this bill. Thank you.
Is there further debate?
Madam President.
Senator Den Hartog.
Thank you. Would the senator from 13 stand for a question?
Senator from District 13 yield to a question from the senator from District 22.
Madam President, I will yield.
Senator Den Hartog.
Thank you, Madam President. Senator from 13. My recollection is that when we were going through this process and Medicaid expansion was being advocated for, that the cities and counties had indicated they would see a savings, if memory serves correct, in the realm of $60 million. Have we seen those savings yet to local units of government because of Medicaid expansion?
Senator Eigenbrod.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, Senator from
22.
22. Those aren't savings that are recognized by the state, but it is my understanding that we are seeing at least some of those savings at local government. Unfortunately, right now, the data that we have, particularly in the last year, is not as reliable as normal data just because of the pandemic. But Senator from 22, I believe we are and will continue to see those savings.
Thank you. Madam President, I have one additional question.
Will the senator yield further?
Yes, I will.
Senator Den Hartog.
Thank you, Madam President. Senator from 13. My other question, I appreciated you bringing it up in your opening debate, the estimate that we had from the outside firm that was doing the projections. Do we have any recourse as a state? We made decisions based on their advice and supposed expertise. Do we have any recourse as a state for that inaccurate projection and data that we made the decision on?
Senator Eigenbrod.
Madam Chairman and Senator from 22, as far as liability recourse, that miss amounts to about $425 million this year. To my knowledge, we have no liability recourse to the Milliman Group. Now, certainly we can choose to use them going forward or not in the future. Historically, they've been a good actuary firm, but the miss, just for the information, the miss didn't happen in the number of people that signed up. They were really actually pretty close. The miss happened in the cost based upon the utilization of the services. So very difficult to track, but certainly a big miss that I'm disappointed in.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you.
Is there further debate?
Madam President.
Senator Sousa.
Thank you, Madam President. Just to make some remarks about the bill, because I'm not exactly supporting the bill, nor am I against the bill. I will probably be voting yes, but with great caution. However, I just wanted to make a remark that and to support what the senator from District 8 has talked about. If you recall, those of us that have been here for a few years, we had, prior to Medicaid expansion, we had several years in a row where alternative ideas came forward as to how we could help this gap population without actually going all the way to Medicaid expansion. And those ideas were welcomed, but did not survive the vote because it was going to cost us money. Well, look at where we are now. If we had taken some of those alternatives, we would not have needed to expand Medicaid in the federal government way that we have done. And I agree completely with the senator from District 8 in that when people take responsibility for their health and they feel a sense of ownership of their health. They are not part of a system that says, we'll tell you what to do, we'll take care of you entirely. When they own their own health, they are more responsible and they're more careful. And if there's a little bit of money coming out of their pocket when they have to seek health care, maybe they will choose a different decision in their lives other than the one that will put them in danger. So I just think that going forward, I hope we as a state will continue to look for alternatives. And perhaps in the future, there can be some substitute ideas that can be used as an alternative to Medicaid expansion, or eventually perhaps replacing parts of it. So I think that we have a lot of work to do on this issue. Thank you.
Is there further debate?
Madam President.
Senator Nelson.
Thank you, Madam President. To debate for the bill, I think Medicaid expansion has been an important move forward for Idaho. I think that the missed cost estimate reflects the amount of services needed for the gap population that wasn't getting served. They were scared to go to the emergency room unless it was a crisis, because that was their only place to go. And so that pent-up demand is bigger than we thought. And I have to say for myself, I'm glad we're able to help them with that. I know in the counties that I represent, 5% of the population has been covered by that and has been getting benefits. I also want to make the point that it's been really important to our rural hospitals. 20 out of 27 of those hospitals are running at a net operating loss. They have just on their operating funds. And without Medicaid expansion paying the bills of those folks, they would be even worse off. And so I think it's an important step to keep those hospitals viable and provide services to our very rural communities.
Is there further debate?
Madam President.
Senator Lee.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise in support of this bill. And I rise in support of the bill, not necessarily the program or the funding, but with a real attention and appreciation for the budgeting process. This bill represents a budget that will reflect the real needs and the ability to, on a macro level, look at what we have to do as a state. And it's not hiding the numbers, it's not moving the numbers, and I'm not saying that we ever did that in the past, but I think for the first time we're having a really good look at what does Medicaid expansion cost in this state. And then we can have the conversations about what do we need to do to control costs, to change programs, to move resources to other areas. But I think this is a really good stark look at what things are costing, and I think that that's what we do in the budget appropriation process, is that we fund the needs, the statutory requirements, and we pay our bills. And this is one way that we can look at that, and then we can continue with those policy changes through the other processes that we have. But this is simply Idaho's obligation to pay its bills, and I would urge your support of us doing that.
Is there further debate? Senator Baer.
Madam President, thank you for recognizing me. Madam President, I don't know that anybody really likes this budget. It's huge, it's big, and it costs a lot of money. But I need to remind us all that these are statutory requirements. And the committee is obligated, and the legislature, I should say, is obligated to pay those bills. If we want changes and need changes, they have to come through the germane committees. So if we want to adjust Medicaid, the costs, the services, whatever portion of Medicaid we want to change, those changes need to come through the through germane committees. I would mention also the CAT fund briefly. There was a discussion about counties and costs, and the CAT fund is the state's portion. And actually, there has been some savings to the CAT fund that reflect in the state's budget. There was a time, I was here, and some of you may have been too, when we paid $40 million in 1 year, the state portion for the CAT fund. This year, we're down to just a minimal amount. And there is pending legislation in the Germain Committee to remove that CAT fund over time and provide more savings to the state as we move more and more folks onto Medicaid. But anyway, I just wanted to make that statement about the Germain Committee and where the responsibilities lie when it comes to this budget. Thank you, Madam President.
Senator Stinnett is recognized as being present, and welcome back. It's good to have you back. Is there further debate?
Madam President.
Senator Martin.
Madam President, I reluctantly rise to support this, but I will rise to support this bill. As was indicated from the good chairman of the Joint Finance and Appropriation Committee, this is a lot of money. I remind the committee that when we dealt with this, to set it into motion, we had several sideboards, and in fact we had four sideboards. The only sideboard that has been implemented is the IMD waiver, which is actually saving the state money. The other three sideboards, partially because of COVID, partially because of the federal government, have not been implemented. Now, whether or not they will or won't, I don't know. That's out of my control. But this legislature did put sideboards on Medicaid expansion, but they have not been implemented. And if you may, just for a minute, think about an individual who was in the gap a year or two ago without insurance. Imagine situations that they had in themselves and their family that they had put off for a great deal, a long time. They now have insurance through this, and I believe that this is a utilization, hopefully, that will then go down this next year. I don't know that. We'll find out. That's why we come back next year. But imagine the joy in that family of being able to have this insurance coverage now and be able to take care of procedures that they have put off maybe for years. We all need to be responsible for our actions. This is allowing our citizens to have the coverage that they want. I encourage your aye vote.
Is there further debate?
Madam President.
Senator Rice.
Madam President, I want to just echo a couple of the points made by the senator from 31. Sometimes appropriations bills become surrogates for whether we like the policy that's in code. And there are sometimes people in the public that look at our votes on appropriations bills as if they're for or against the underlying policy. And that isn't always the case. We can disagree with some or all of the underlying policy for various reasons and still vote for an appropriations bill because it is not setting the policy of the state. It is funding what has been set as the policy of the state in our statutes, however they were passed and however we voted on the particular policy and however we feel about the particular policy. And so I think that's an important point to remember as we consider appropriations bill. Thank you, Madam President.
Is there further debate? Hearing none, Senator Eigenbrod is recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate the comments, both pro and against this heavy lift. $3.7 billion. I understand the lift that we're carrying here. This is where the rubber meets the road. A former president that I voted for delved into health care and came out and said, it's complicated. It is complicated. Medicaid's complicated. It's not all within this body's authority to make changes, but we need to continue to work hard to make the changes that we can in Idaho. As we talk about personal accountability, and I appreciate the good senator from 8's comments about all of our individual accountability, and certainly those that the taxpayers are paying for. We need to understand and put a face to who these people are. If we look at the different plans, the coordinated plan, that's 65 and older individuals that have a dual eligibility with Medicare and Medicaid. The enhanced plan, that's children and adults with disabilities, special health needs, and foster care. The basic plan, which is pregnant women and children, it's the CHIP program, Idaho's Health Care for Children program. And lastly, the one we're more familiar with as of late, the expansion plan. And this is strictly based upon a person's income. It's the poverty level, the 138% of poverty level or less. So as I look at my friends and neighbors that may fall in some of these categories, they may not have the good fortune that we have, whether it be economically or health-wise, to be in a position to take personal responsibility. So I think we have to recognize that not every Medicaid recipient has the good fortune of health that maybe we have in this body. With that, Madam President, debate is closed.
Debate being closed, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1185 pass the Senate? The Secretary will call the roll.
Eigenbrod, Anthem, Bear, Bayer, Burgoyne, Burtonshaw, Cook, Crabtree, Den Hartog, Grow, Guthrie, Harris, Hyder, Johnson, Blakey, Lee, Lent, Lodge, Martin, Nelson, Nye, Patrick, Robbie, Rice, Ricks, Riggs, Souza, Stennett, Thane, Vick, Wardingle King, Winder, Wintrow, Woodward, Cito,
Roll call shows 29 ayes, 6 nays, 0 absent and excused. A majority having voted in the affirmative, Senate Bill number 1185 has passed the Senate. Is there a correction to the title? Hearing none, the title is also approved, and Senate Bill number 1185 will be transmitted to the House of Representatives.